February 28th, 1916. Mira decided to go to Japan. The Japanese passenger ship, Kamumaro, was plying between England and Japan. So Mira first travelled to London, where a large number of formalities had to be completed before she could board the ship. On the 11th of March, Mira boarded the Kamumaro and set sail for Japan. It was the same ship that had brought her from Colombo to France a year earlier. Now, due to the war, it was to sail via the Cape of Good Hope, a journey that would take her around the entire western coast of Africa, making it a 52-day journey. Mira's whole being enjoyed a supreme and vast felicity throughout. Almost a month later, the ship anchored in Table Bay, Cape Town. From here, Mira sent a postcard to her son, André, telling him how she was going about visiting the city by tram. The next port of call was Shanghai, China. Mira visited both the French and the native quarters of the city.
Let the eternal light dawn on the eastern horizon.
On the 18th of May, the Kamumaro arrived at its final destination, Yokohama, Japan. Mira was deeply struck by the Japanese sense of physical and natural beauty. She recounted, "For 4 years, from an artistic point of view, I lived from wonder to wonder. Beauty rules over Japan as an incontestable master. These landscapes of Japan, well, almost all the most beautiful, striking ones, I had seen in vision in France, and yet I had not seen any pictures or photographs of Japan. I knew nothing of Japan. And I had seen these landscapes without human beings, nothing but the landscape, quite pure, like that. And it seemed to me that they were visions of a world other than the physical. They seemed to me too beautiful for the physical world, too perfectly beautiful."
Let the supreme beauty be manifest in this land of beauty so close to my heart.
It was the beginning of January 1919. A terrible pandemic, commonly called the Spanish flu, raged throughout the whole of Japan. Hundreds of thousands lost their lives. In Tokyo itself, hundreds of cases occurred every single day. This house might have been called a laboratory, in which Mira's mission was shaped before she made India her permanent home. The 4 years in Japan had proved a sanctuary and phoenix hour for the whole tapasya of her Mahasaraswati's aspect.
It was 3rd September 1919. Mother was living in a Japanese country house near a lake in Oiwake. The word Oiwake means a fork in the road, and indeed this particular day became a turning point in her own inner road. That day, when she was sitting alone in meditation, there was an abrupt concentration of consciousness. In fact, there was a sudden ingathering of the entire body, and she realized that the Lord's power was plainly there. Everything in her became still. The whole external being was completely immobilized, and she had a vision of the ineffable Supreme whose presence she felt physically. Then, that immensity seemed to have reduced itself into a gigantic being who lifted her up like a wisp of straw and, gathering her up in its arms, turned towards India and offered her to Sri Aurobindo, whom she could see at the other end of the vision. Without a word, without anything else, the Supreme offered her to Sri Aurobindo. Then everything vanished. That day she wrote in her diary,
"Since the man refused the meal I had prepared with so much love and care, I invoked the God to take it. My God, Thou hast accepted my invitation. Thou hast come to sit at my table, and in exchange for my poor and humble offering, Thou hast granted to me last liberation. My body smiles to Thee with happiness, as before my soul smiled to Thee. Nothing remains of the past but a potent love, which gives me the pure heart of a child and the lightness and freedom of thought of a God."
The next day she began to prepare to return to India. She wrote in her diary,
"I belong to no nation, no civilization, no society, no race, but to the divine. I obey no master, no ruler, no law, no social convention, but to the divine. To Him I have surrendered all, will, life, and self. For Him I am ready to give all my blood, drop by drop, if such is His will, with complete joy. And nothing in His service can be sacrifice, for all is perfect delight."
In March 1920, despite the protests of the British government, she obtained the visa and other necessary documents with the help of the Japanese government. This time, she boarded the ship Kagamaru from the port of Kobe. Her friends had come to see her off. Later she wrote,
Japan was in the physical world, the teacher of beauty. She must not renounce her privilege.
The Kagamaru reached Colombo on 18th April 1920. Since the British ambassador in Japan had refused to give her the permission to cross British India on her way to Pondicherry, she had chosen to travel by the Juple. This was the same ship in which Sri Aurobindo had arrived at Pondicherry a decade earlier on 4th April 1910. Around 8:30 on the morning of 24th April 1920, the Dupleix anchored off the port of Pondicherry. That very day, the mother met Sri Aurobindo in the same house that they had first met on 29th March 1914.
I was standing just beside Sri Aurobindo, both gazing out through the open window, and then together at exactly the same moment we felt now the realization will be accomplished, that the seal was set and the mission was accomplished. I felt the divine power descending massively within me with the same certainty as I had felt it in my previous vision of the Supreme in Japan. From that moment on, there was nothing to say, no words, nothing. We knew it was that, the Supreme Tat.
For the rest of her life, she never left Pondicherry, working there as Sri Aurobindo's force to manifest in its plenitude what he wanted to achieve. For without the mother, Sri Aurobindo's conception of a divine life upon earth could not have been realized.
She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire. The luminous heart of the unknown is she. A power of silence in the depths of God. The might of all that never yet came down. Once seen, his heart acknowledged only her.
The mother's return was the tangible sign of the sure victory over the adverse forces. Years later, Sri Aurobindo clarified,
"The mother is not a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. She has had the same realization and experiences as myself. She had helped and is helping to give a concrete form to my yoga. This would not have been possible without her cooperation."
and the mother announced,
Without him, I exist not. Without me, he is unmanifest.